It's me. Hi, Juge. Hi, Noya. Hi, anyone else who lurks. It is Tuesday. February. You finally made it to February. Felt like it was gonna take forever. I won't be playing anything today because I'm just, I don't know, sometimes I'm a little played out. I put like 125 hours into Cyberpunk since Christmas. And I finished that this weekend and my belly is full. You know what I mean? My little belly is full. Well, let me see if I can move this cable without unplugging the camera. Yeah, I made it. So the plan today is twofold. One, these nails are criminally underpainted. And specifically, I want to do like a bit in the next video that I want to record that uses my fingers, and I'd like them to have a nice color on them. And due to circumstances, I haven't really had any time. So we're gonna pick a color, and we'll see how long it takes. Half an hour, an hour. And then I'm gonna work on the Aruba game a bit. I've already drawn out like a rough map of the main playable area based on satellite imagery and whatnot, and a little bit of creativity on my part. And I think I want to kind of paint that out in a little bit more detail. In a way that I could potentially in the future use that as a basis to build more off of, you know. Something like that. That's kind of the plan. Hey, Disty. So, we're going to be looking at some colors. Now, the problem is, this is our little collection of nail polish. Nobody in this house has polished their nails in months. Am I quiet? I don't think I'm. OBS says I'm not quiet. Do the thing on your TV that goes like this. On your employer's expense. You have me on double the volume. The OBS says I'm at normal volume. Anyone else bothered by this? Do you have, like, stuff in your ears? You know you're not supposed to put the Q-tip all the way in until it tickles. The music is a little soft, but am I? I'm quite hard. Where was I? I was saying, nobody in this house has polished their nails in a while, as you could tell by, like, this is supposed to be lilac, and it's the pigment has separated from whatever, you know, other liquid there is in there. So but I think with it, like, let's see if we do a little bit of a shake. I'm not gonna use this color, but if we do a little bit of a shake, yeah, just gotta mix it up. Gotta mix it up, and then it's fine again. No expiration date on this. So my go-to color. Do I have two of them? No, this is another one. My go-to color.
Nerd alert!
Not really a fan of that name. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I'm not gonna say it out loud. My go-to color is this. It is this very nice light blue. It's a Essie Bikini Sotini. Might do that. Hey, Grace.
Everything is so beautiful.
No, still not a fan of that name. I wouldn't mind if that name goes away. Mods. Hi, Fluff. Purple? You know? That's also kind of a classic Bob color. This is a kind of light. This is called... It's called... Purplicious. Nope, you can't see it. Can't focus. Come on, you can do it, buddy. You can do it. Purplicious. Hey, Casserole. We could do like a nice dark blue. See, that name I am a fan of. Microwave Casserole. Much better. Dark blue. I'm still leaning towards the... Thanks, Disty. Bikini so teeny. Sparkly? Sparkly purple? Eh. Like this one I really don't like. Is yellow. Not a fan of that one. That's Mrs. Bob. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with the classic. I just need to find a good top coat. Do you have a good top coat? See, this top coat is kind of... This top coat has seen better days. That's alright, Disty. You did your job. This top coat okay? This top coat is okay. It's a little... I mean, I might not even bother with a top coat, to be honest. We don't have a lot of time today. The drying drops could use that. Yeah. Let's see if we can use the Bikini Sotini. I think, yeah. Okay. So, how's everybody holding up on this bitch of an earth? It's been a week, yeah. Tell me about it. The news about Battle Whisk was, of course, awful. We have some other in me and our personal lives, me and Mrs. Bob. We have some more people passing away also. It's a little much. It's a little much. And at the same time, in the last 12 months, I've never been confronted by so much death. And I've never had more, like, energy to, like, fucking live, you know? Yep, you have a great week! Your boss agreed to burn some overtime. Nice! Love it, Grace. We have decided... you may have all heard that me and Mrs. Bob were... I'm not having, like, a camera pointed at my fingers, because that's, Thanks, Jujo. I'm not having a camera pointed at my nails, because that's just a little too much work. But, so I'll just be chatting! We'll just be chatting today. How about that? Me and Mrs. Bob, you may have heard, were planning a trip to Copenhagen. Just because, like, all our vacations have been places where we could stay with people. And so we wanted to kind of learn what would it be like to stay on our own in a place. And it turns out that's expensive. Someone got sick. I was fully prepared to roll back and make me work, but instead she gave me even more time off. That's sick. You deserve that. It turns out, you know, having to cover your own lodging is expensive. And flights to Copenhagen are weirdly expensive too, at least from Schiphol. So, we're going to Switzerland again instead. Benefits are Switzerland is just monstrously beautiful at any time of year. Flights to Geneva are cheaper, although we do have to pay for a train ticket also. And most importantly, we have friends who live there who have a spare room. And one of whom isn't working right now and is able to take us on tours and bring us to cool places and show us cool stuff. I have no complaints, to be perfectly honest. I was looking forward to Copenhagen, but not like, oh yeah, Copenhagen. More like, yeah, cool, Copenhagen. I just wish the pan-European rail network was in a much better place or something. You could just take a train. But like, my first trip to Sweden was like, maybe not open the bottle with your freshly painted nails. Oh, shit. My first experience with Switzerland was like mind-blowingly sublime. I don't know if it's gonna be the same this time. But it's gonna be a good time, and it's probably going to be like by the end of the month. Like, we still have to arrange everything, but it's not like a trip to Aruba where you need to plan everything months in advance, you know? It's here of the night. Ah? Not bad, right? I think... Now, a couple of them could use another coat, but some of them are okay. How is this easier than when I do it off camera? When I do it off camera, it's usually a disaster. I suppose because I'm not like... I'm distracted by talking. So I'm not using my hand for anything. I'm gonna let it dry for a bit now. The other good news is on Sunday I got to hang out with my baby niece. She's like at that stage where she's learning to play and grab things. It was adorable. And we've been like formally invited to be like candidates for babysitting whenever they need more time, which is nice, you know, that they feel like we're up to that kind of that they trust us with that. So they're first-time parents. But that, you know, that's really life-affirming, right? When you've had a year full of people passing away, to also have someone come into this world and to know, like, I'm gonna be a part of her life forever? To whatever extent forever exists for me. You know, I'm gonna see her grow up. I'm already seeing her grow up because a 1-week-old looks different than a 3-week-old, looks different than a 4-month-old, you know. So that is really nice. Adorable. I'm happy to be able to have that experience because my other nieces are on Aruba. And I wasn't really able to experience them growing up in the same way. Now that I'm going back more often, I have... I'm building up a relationship with them, you know? Hey, Sten. Sten knows. Sten is Mrs. Bob, if anyone doesn't know. So that's really nice. You know? Get that baby smell, for better or worse. And to be in a place mentally to actually be able to appreciate it. I'm relishing in it. You know, I'm bathing in it, in the stench of fresh baby poop. But that means life. I'm happy. I'm usually so much messier. I think just my ring finger, maybe my pinky needs a second coat. The others are good. The variety in baby poop. Life finds a way to be more creative. AI could never come up with that diversity in poop. What else has been going on in the House of Bob? I've been trying to read a little more lately, and I've been like using the little libraries in Leiden. There's like a ton of those little street libraries. And I found some more interesting things, and I found actually a Kurosawan book. What would it be called in English? Double Play or whatever? Like from the 70s, like part of like the canon of Dutch Antillean literature. We had to read it in high school. And I think it's the same edition that I had in high school. Which is kind of cool. I don't know if I'm going to read it, but... people leave some interesting stuff in those little libraries. There's treasures to be found there. And when I'm done with them, I can put them back. That's really cool, too. I found also today... I don't know really what it's about. It's a German book from the 50s. Like an edition from the 50s. About, like, missionary work in German New Guinea? Which, as far as topic is concerned, is rather grim. But as an old book, it's kind of a cool artifact. I can't read German anyway. But it also has a map of, like, German New Guinea. That's just a loose piece of paper that's still in that book from 1951. Which is like, I'm happy enough if I get an old game and it still has the map in it or whatever, you know? Keep an eye on that one. Unless it's Ant.
You're welcome, Comrade Walker. You want some vodka?
I don't know, Fluff. I'm away for a week. Well, let's just say there's a bunch of swords in chat for a reason. I mean, this is a much less objectionable name than the other one, if I'll be honest. This could be any one of you, you know? Why have my glasses on? I shouldn't have my glasses on. I don't need to do any cleanup. I have like a little bit of extra hair, but that'll just fall off in a day. Okay, you're all good. I'm just, you know... I've been around the internet once or twice. Which means I don't trust anybody. Yeah. Alright, well, okay, of course, doing it with my left hand, I'm immediately getting more trouble. Not even me? Let's see the problem. Let's see, Jujo. If you read your name real slow. You gotta look at it from all angles, you know? Even me, Bob. Some people get the connotation of, the Bob from Twin Peaks or whatever. And that guy's a crazy demon. Ugh. Why must there be handedness? This is much worse. This is definitely gonna need a second coat. I'm happy I'm already halfway through though. Do you know? Yeah, now I know. Although even, you know, the fact that I have to be concerned if your name stood for Jewish Joe, as if that wouldn't be fine. But also, you know, like, I know that, especially in Dutch, by certain groups of people, the word Jew is used as an insult. I know that happens in English too, but there's like a certain kind of like harshness to Dutch. Look terrible. Look terrible. Look at that. It's a thin coat and it's all messy. This is how I usually do it. Like, you can see through most of it. What else is going on while I'm waiting for this shitty little coat to dry? The Wild Wild West video. Speaking of wild times. The Wild Wild West video. It's going. I'm having a little bit of trouble with it. It's not, I can't really put it into words how I'm having trouble with it. I think it's a motivation issue. Well, I haven't done any work since we talked last, Grace. I haven't had time. I've made some progress. It's just going slow. That's all. It's gonna happen. It'll be fine. It's just I'm not as motivated. It's just that in the end, like, careful. I feel like as a game, it's just not that interesting to talk about. So I have a lot of stuff around it about the history, not so much of the developer, but just kind of the history of Wild Wild West as a franchise. And it's a little tricky to figure out what to use as footage when, because I generally, even though it's been now what, like 3 years of doing this, when I'm writing a script, I still tend to write it more as an essay than as a video. And though I have in my head sometimes, let's get some calmer music, please. I have in my head sometimes as I'm writing stuff I want to put on screen and show. You know, there's parts of it, especially when I'm talking about the gameplay or whatever, it's no problem because I have like clips in my head. Although they don't always match up with what I end up recording, which is another like annoying little trouble thing. But sometimes I just write as if it's like a slideshow presentation and I don't have the slides figured out. And then when it comes time to edit, oh fuck, what do I put here? What do I put there? And usually, historically, every single other time, I've been so motivated to get this game's story out there that I'll find a way. I figure it out. You know, I had that with Amsterdam. I had that with Desperate Housewives. I'll find something to put here and it'll be fine. But with this one, I'm just feeling like 10% less motivated. So it's just going a little slow. Sometimes I have to sit on it a bit. You know, I've shuffled some stuff around. But there's these weird intricacies. Oh my god, so messy, Bob. There's these weird intricacies to video making that you don't understand until you do it. And every video has new challenges. I can't believe I did my left hand so beautifully, and then my right hand is just a complete mess. Will Smith is definitely a part of it. Yeah, it might also be like, in terms of like big videos, I'm going from Hamlet to this, and Hamlet is such a curiosity. Hamlet is fascinating from top to bottom. Whereas Wild Wild West is more like, yeah, it's a licensed game. It's a licensed game. It's overall a pretty standard point and click. It's not as interesting as the movie, although arguably it is better than the movie. Look at this. Look at that. I need to do so much cleanup. I've had worse. Anyway, it's happening. I was hoping to get it out next week. With some luck. I'll be working on it tomorrow. I'll be working on it on Thursday. I'll be working on it in the weekend. I'll be working on it on Monday. There's actually, like, I've got the rough edit down for the most part. But there's a lot of little bits I want to film for it still. I don't know how much I'm gonna do. I'm just not feeling as motivated. And it doesn't help that the 2 quick videos I made at the end of last year, kind of as jokes, were huge hits. And I know this is gonna get, if I'm lucky, it's gonna hit 3K views. You know. That's not gonna stop me at all. But it does affect my motivation on a micro level. Where it's like, why don't you just make quick things easy and get more advertising revenue? Because I want to tell stories. Classic dilemma. I mean, look, the fact that like my biggest hit video is Desperate Housewives, right? Welcome in, Pound Me Daddy. Yeah. Desperate Housewives is the biggest hit video by far, and obviously that is like buoyed by there still being a somewhat active fandom of that franchise. But the Rig and Roll and Eva Cash videos were also, you know, relatively successful for the size of my audience at the time they released, and Rig and Roll maybe less so, but Eva Cash, nobody fucking knew about that game, you know. So I'm not gonna give up on the big long form deep dives, but I already anyway want to pepper in more. I want to pepper in more, like, you know, relatively small. Like, I'm gonna do a video on the base jumping game, and that's not gonna be a huge deep dive. That's because there's not that much to say about the game anyway. But I do want people to know about it because it exists. It's so interesting that my motivation is like, people don't know about it, therefore people must know about it. As if that's like is that a universal truth? If somebody doesn't know about a thing, they need to know about it? That's how I feel about myself, I think. If I don't know about a thing, I need to know about it. So I've always been like that. But yeah, so the base jumping and whatever comes after that are going to be relatively short videos. And by relatively short, I say this every time because I thought the Wild Wild West video was going to be 20, maybe 30 minutes. It is over 30 minutes. Not a whole lot more, but it is over 30 minutes. And I remember Eva Cash I had written down in my notes also, like, you know, it's a simple, quick one, and that ended up being 90 minutes long. But I've written down for myself no more than 12 minutes for these two next ones. And, but the one after that, I'm setting no limit, because that is going to be the opus of the year. And, I want that to be both good and as deep as I can get it. I might not even stream the game to get gameplay footage. I might keep it a secret until release day, except for those people who I've asked for help. Like when I think I'm going to make a simple meal for myself and end up 10 ingredients and half an hour later. Cooking is so annoying because if you want it to be good, you'll need at least 4 or 5 ingredients and 20 minutes. But I'm hungry now. Okay, I fucked this up. Look, I fucked it up. You see that? I touched something. I think I'm gonna leave it. I don't need them to be perfect today. I'm just gonna do some cleanup now. I've had a lot worse, I'll say that. I've had it mind to start a gaming blog to talk about obscure games or whatever I want for a while. Yeah, I'm also on the side setting up a new website, which is to say just redoing my personal website. And I am slowly going through the process of taking my old scripts for videos that have released. Like I'm gonna do it in order. Like it's gonna be, the first one is going to be Helicops, but just kind of turning them into blog posts. So editing them, and I was gonna say lightly editing them. Thanks, Disty. Enjoy your dinner. You too, Juge. But I think blogs are the future. I definitely think there's something to be said about carving out your own little area in cyberspace, and just having the most like, it doesn't even need to be WordPress. You know, the most basic fucking website. Have an RSS feed so people can get updated. And that's done. I'm going a little too deep with it now. I'm trying to keep it simple, but I've discovered a way to have the forum automatically generate a post when I create a new blog post, and have the blog embed the replies to that forum's post as comments. And I feel like, as the owner of the forum, I have to do that, even if it requires a little bit of more web development-y stuff. Folks, I've got like a little, what did I have for dinner? I had some green onions with my spaghetti, and there's like one stuck in here. I'm trying to get it, but I can't use my fingers because they're just freshly painted. But that's not bad, right? The light is a little bright here when I'm close to the lamp. Let me just lower the brightness a little bit. So my skin doesn't look so weirdly yellow. I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. Gives me a little color. Look, it fits my ducky keyboard that I never use. Actually, that's not true. I do use it. I use it for the Windows XP machine. Okay, let's try not to break it too much. I'm happy with this lighting, actually. Not so bright in my face. Let me just clean up a little, and then we're gonna open up. What are we gonna open up? Krita? Yeah. We're gonna do some drawing. Or as the Brits call it, drawing. Trusty, barely used cheap Chinese drawing tablet. I don't know if I need to make a new file for this. So here I have these sketches. How big is this file? 5,000 by 3,500. So, okay, maybe if we go to Google Earth. For those of you not in the know, this is Aruba. And on Aruba you have a natural monument called the Natural Bridge that collapsed 20 years ago. And I want to have a little game called it doesn't have a name. What am I saying? Where you run this little tourist stand, this snack bar / souvenir shop, and you live over here somewhere. You have to drive to and fro every day, and it's in first person and it's kind of survivally. Have I ever used any GIS software? I've oh look. If I go back to new, if I close this, I have looked up like relief maps, although there's not a lot of detail to this. There's a surprisingly little information. This was a full recreation of the road network, as high resolution as I could get it. I know where to get Fluff. I know where to get the highest possible resolution satellite photography. In fact, hold on. Let me open up the file. And it's not too expensive, as far as I recall.
Creation.
Do I have the link?
Creation.
Open topography. Open topography has some stuff, but it's also not very high resolution, unfortunately. But it's good for the general thing. Like, I know that hill, this hill, or the highest point on these hills is 126 meters. So that gives me a scale. But like, I'd like it to be very accurate on the drive, especially, you know. But there was a website. Technical notes. Skywatch. Or Sentinel Hub. I can get imagery of 50 centimeters per pixel at like $10 per square kilometer. And if I recall from what I tested, this area would cost me like somewhere between 50 and $100 bucks. But I don't know if I need to go that deep, to be perfectly honest. What I want to do now is kind of more draw it out, you know? Like, this is high resolution image, but the satellite data here isn't very high resolution, actually. Is this high resolution? No, not at all. This was just a general overview. Because on Google Earth, you can get pretty close, right? And what I tried to do, and what I was not successful at, is because this is as detailed as you can get here at 40 meters. No, not 40 meters. At like 350 meters. And I'd love to get a good stitch of this whole thing as accurate as possible, but also at the same time, this is from last year, the year before, whereas I'm trying to recreate it as it looked in 2005, at least in terms of the road layout, which is a little different. 2003 looks a little better. Although, you know, it doesn't have to be super accurate. Like this seam is pretty awful anyway. Yeah, this is better. Because I don't know what the game is gonna look like. I don't know if I'm gonna use any kind of a fancy graphical style, or if I'm gonna do something like you know, PS2 graphics or whatever. I know that any kind of like style beyond just like basic photorealism game look is going to be difficult, because that requires skill. Like, I can't just make a PS2 looking game or a PS1 looking game. That requires a good understanding of the visual effects, as you know, and game graphics that I don't have. So, like, probably what you would imagine is more like something like My Summer Car Plus, like a lot better than My Summer Car, because My Summer Car kind of has this shitty amateur look to it. I'd like to have a little bit more detail and not like purposefully look like shit or anything. But like, if we compare the roads, compare this road, say, to today, is there like a way to do comparison? Okay, it hasn't changed that much. This little circle seemed new to me. Yeah, that wasn't there. I don't know what this is. Is that still there? No. The rest looks very similar. This is a little less developed, less worn out. This area is going to be a fantasy land. This is not going to be the same. But this road, I want it to be one-to-one. This blue road, I want to be one-to-one. Hey, Red. And then past here, I actually had a thought, because I thought like simplistic 3D with lots of 2D billboard elements. I mean, you know, like my concern is okay, you've got the terrain, And the terrain partially is this, like, even if we do like the 3D map, I think we have to go to here for. The terrain is partially like, okay, look, this is perfect for a height map because it's just like round hills, you know? But this area is more sharper, rocky cliffs, a couple of meters high. There's a lot of rock formations, but those would require 3D models. The plants, the bushes, also 3D models, grass and stuff. Not that there's not a lot of grass or whatever here. Didn't know about that, but rocks and stuff. So there's actually not a lot of room for like 2D billboard elements. Although I have thought, you know, thinking about my limitations and whatnot, I have thought like characters, NPCs could potentially be Doom-like 2D sprites. But that would still require 3D modeling them and then just rendering them out, but it would like save a lot on animation and stuff. That's a potential road I could go that adds a little style while still making things easy on me, because like I wouldn't have to like do skeletal animation. I could just kind of do some key poses for walking or you know, poses and stuff. The water I'm gonna have to use shaders for, and I'm still a little frustrated. I talked about this a lot last time. I did find a really nice ocean shader for Godot, but it's meant for open ocean. It's not meant for coastlines. I don't know what to do with that. But I think what I want to do here now is just start painting. But I need to lay this out more. Let me just remove the. If we remove the all of this. Oh, this is the sketch. Oh no, some of it is painted on it still, right? No, that's good. Remove that. What are you? That's everything. What are you? Notes. Sketch. Nothing is on you. Okay, so that's good. I do have a high-res version of the... Oh, that's an aerial picture. Alright, this is a close-up. Okay, I have that as well. We could start with the close-up. So what I have here is this is where you work. This is the natural bridge. This is the tourist shop. This is the road to work, right? There's like a landmark here and a potential exit to further map stuff. And then this is like, I guess you could call it the town. Now, if you look at Aruba from a distance, you'll see it is basically one, maybe two urban areas, right? There's no such thing as a separate town. Like, this is the capital area, but it's all just one sprawl. Basically, the only places where it isn't built up is the places that are very hilly. And this is now like a national park. And that's why there's like a little bit of a separation here. There's a bridge here over this lagoon area. Colloquially, people do talk about above the bridge and below the bridge. And generally speaking, this area is more somewhat impoverished, gets less economic attention. This is where the refinery used to be. Of course, the capital city is where all the attention is, but like, it's not, there's no town, there's no separate little settlements or something. So I hesitate to call this a town, But for the purposes of the game, it'll be a separate area where there will be houses and a shop and a few other things. But I was thinking, I had a gas station here. See, that's the word gas station, if you could read that. And I had this thought recently that it doesn't make sense for there to be a gas station here, because a gas station would more likely be on a larger main road. So I'm not sure if I want to keep this area the same structure. I might want to mess around with it a bit. But I need to figure out how, because this here I have the rock formations. That's this area. Where is it? I should be able to see it from the sky. Is it this? No. Let's see. Yeah, this. These are like the rock formations that you can climb and whatever. That's a cool landmark to have as well. And I've kind of moved it to over here somewhere. Welcome back, Disty. Did you have the sense of the smallness of the island when you lived there? Absolutely. Now, I was 7 when I moved, so I was a very little one. But even then, everything was big to me at age 7. But as you grow up as a teenager, and the problem is too, like when we lived in the Netherlands, we used to go on vacations. So I went to France and I went to Germany, and I remember crossing into Luxembourg at some point. On Aruba, we never went on vacation because the family fell apart. That's a whole other thing. Everyone's belly is full of food. It's good to see. But like okay, I live in the Netherlands now, right? Not a particularly big place. Like I live right here. Here. Okay? Are you cooking at the moment? Okay, that's fine too. Amsterdam is right over here, a small train ride from me. The Hague is right here. Rotterdam is right here. One of the busiest airports in Europe is right here. Even though, until recently, I haven't exploited it much, I have access to everything, so the Netherlands isn't just the Netherlands, no matter how small it is. Even if you grow up in a small town in the Netherlands, right, if you're unlucky enough, you take a bus, and you're connected to the world. And the thing with Aruba is, not only are you not connected to the world, but the closest location is this, Punto Fijo in Venezuela, which is like there's not a lot going on there. Or you go to Curacao, which is just another island, you know, and then to go anywhere else, you have to cross a decent amount of ocean. Like the flight to Puerto Rico is like half an hour, I think. Half an hour, but you know, it's not half an hour in the train. It's half an hour going through customs and all that shit. It's not a day trip. So it's the smallness, but it's also the isolation is the problem. You're bound to these borders. Even if you take a boat ride, even if you go on a boat, you know, okay, my mom and her husband have a boat here at this marina. What do? You just kind of take it and you cruise along the coast and then you cruise back. You're not going anywhere. Now, a couple of years ago, they did go and cross the Caribbean. They went all the way to the Bahamas, I think. They went through here or here? I don't know. Very cool, but, you know, that's a big, huge undertaking. So it's small, but also isolated. And it's not physically isolated because you could technically, like, this is how the indigenous people crossed from the mainland, right? They just kind of, whoop. That's not a lot. I mean, you can see on a clear day, you can see Aruba from there. So they knew that there was land there. It's not like the the Polynesians crossing the Pacific, you know. But still, as a child, I felt like I didn't have access to anything. On a clear day, you can see forever? That's not true. That's not true. On a clear night, you can see forever. Where were we? Right, so... I want to change up this road, because now I have it somewhat laid out the same as the real road. And I might want to continue that. I might want to take this road and put the gas station like here. I need to create a new layer. Nope, not a copy. New layer. New sketch. New NB full zone. You missed the night sky, what you can see versus Northern Hemisphere. This, Joe. Joe. The equator runs like over here. I mean, the Netherlands is like particularly light polluted, I know. We had a telescope at some point. At some point, my father got a telescope, and I could see the moon relatively up close. That was cool, but I was also a teenager, so I didn't give a fuck about the night sky. I wanted to kiss girls. Sorry. Paint layer 2. So we do this. How do we make
Nerd alert!
Oh, I don't know about that username. Distinguish this. Distinguish what? How do I make you? How do I make it like a child layer? Property. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to make this a child layer. I haven't a layer of children. You generally ask, okay, look, oh, you can't see, of course. Hold on. I can do this. I have the technology. Okay. So here, I have a layer, and then I have layers that are children of that layer, so that when I turn that off, they also turn off, right? So that way I have it organized. Right now I have, like, this is, like, the entire zone. But then here I also have a close-up version of the area that I want to make or whatever. So, that. Although here it's not working. Oh no, because this is the thing. So I'm trying to add a child layer to this. And I don't know how I did it last time. Like, you would think just drag it on there. But that's not doing it for some reason. Properties. Nothing here that is, like, in the properties. You gotta create a folder layer, okay. I don't see folder layer. Paint layer, group layer, clone layer. File layer? No. Group. Thank you. Thank you. I almost had it myself. Sketch. NB full zone new. You can go, actually. I don't need you right now. Okay, so instead of having the road come here and then swerve around... Instead of having the road come here and swerve... I like that it swerves around, though. It swerves around the rock formation. That way I can eventually make it and then potentially add an entrance.
I don't understand. What do you want? You're just a machine.
In real life, it goes it goes further south. And then it hooks around. And there's not a gas station anywhere nearby. There's like a ranch here. There's the weird ostrich farm. But I'm not gonna have that. I want one road. One road. Let's just use red for now. Like one road. It has to hook around at some point. But the thing is, I'm gonna build this in stages, right? Like this area is going to be the first thing I build. Then the road and the town and all that shit once some of the basics have been set up. And then this area would be after. Thinking out loud. I like this. I have water tank radio tower. So you have these big water tanks. Where's the closest one? This one? Yeah. Yeah, these big water tanks on the hills. I want one of those nearby too. That might be better off on the other side, actually. So, like, if the water tank is here, and the radio tower here, the road comes out like this. It goes up to the water tank at the radio tower. Goes down a little bit. And then there has to be a larger road. And that is where the gas station would be. So this kind of T-crossing area is where the shops and stuff would be. Because that makes sense, right? That makes sense, like... shops and stuff would be in more highly trafficked areas. And then this goes around? But that makes no sense then anymore. I have, within recent, the road sketch. This is vaguely what it would be like in real life. No, this is exactly what it is like in real life. The water tank there. The rock formations are over here. I'm putting them over here. This blue was a terrible color choice. Like, I can barely read it now. The reason why do I want... Because the rock formation, its real road is like this. And for some reason, I'm attached to it being like in this kind of triangular zone. I mean, what I could potentially do is just have it like be encircled, right? I could just have it be like encircled. And then this road goes to wherever it goes. That would end up going down south. But this road would end up going to the edge of the map. I think it needs to be a little lower. I think oh, that's vector layer. I think it needs to be more like this. This makes no sense. Why would the big road do that? I think, actually, let's turn this off. Get rid of you. Where are you, cursor? There you are. Oh, still on the eraser. If that road goes there... Not like that. Not like that. That road goes that way. That road goes that way. That's actually not too far off from real life. Or you got this. So this goes a little up, actually. I think if we get it here, get it like this. Would you all still respect and love me if I used AI to do this? No! Good. Good. Neither would I. What is this? Where's the select tool? You're with me till the AI. That's why I'm not touching my winter car. According to its Steam page, it is, yeah. So, and then side road. And then here's IO. And then that just leads to nothing. There might be a house here. But then there's the border. The border, before I do anything, is there. I think we can make this work. And I need to think about the scale too, because if we look at the scale, where is it? If we look at the scale, as the size of a house is this big. Right? That's not very big at all. So we can keep them nice spread apart. I mean, we could potentially then still put a ranch there, to be honest. We could potentially still have a ranch here, or whatever here. This would be the road. Then we could potentially have the ranch there. And then the houses zone is this. Let me do that in a less noxious way. The houses zone is this. Right, and then this is the store, this is the gas station. What is that? What does that say? Eatery. Right, somewhere to eat, somewhere to shop, and somewhere to get fuel. Simple as that. And then when I build it first, I can put like a pretty tall wall here of nothing, and that could eventually turn into a road that leads down, and two, this little area with a rock formation. Okay, so that is that. There's a part of me that still wants to do this at the appropriate scale. So if I could steal that. And throw it into a new layer. And then scale it. Proper size. Little smaller.
That ain't right.
Hey, Nervous. About here. It told you to do that? What does Twitch get out of like encouraging people to use the channel points? It's not like it's getting anything out of that. A little weird, isn't it? Okay. So, this is way too much stuff. What are you doing? Well, I just need you temporarily anyway. Let's do a paint layer above you. Call you roads. Pick color of asphalt. Maybe a little darker. Roads and wait, asphalt. Asphalt roads. And paved, because there will also be dirt roads. Do we need separate layers for that? No. I'll just need to paint them different. Roads and pavement. This is going to be as high detail as I can get it, just for... This is a sketch for a sketch for a sketch. It doesn't need to be super detailed. How are you doing today, Nervous? God, the undo is really aggressive in this. Hopefully not getting a cold. Me neither.
Assurance. Today is the day.
I'm alright. I got this done earlier in the stream, which is nice. Doesn't need to be perfect. So wouldn't it be nice if it were perfect? Can I turn off the Can I turn off the pen? I can turn off the pen easily. I totally fries. I can turn off the pen easily. I just need to use my mouse. When I build the real thing, I'm still gonna go off of the satellite information. But you know what I could potentially do is well, that's the thing. I can't use the satellite information for areas that I'm making up. So this will supplement that. And it's not like I'm just gonna plop the satellite data into Blender and have it be done. Am I painting on the right layer? Yes. Most of this is going to be dirt. Put some dirt in your eye. No, this is too sad. Thank you. Thank you, Racing Lagoon. This is to the ruins. We don't need to go into that in detail. What I want is if you play this, that at least for some of the areas, you could go there and you could use it as a reference. And if not, if the roads aren't properly one-to-one, that you could still say, like, the vibe has been captured properly. This goes up to the hill. We'll leave that. I don't know exactly what that looks like yet. So, in phase 2, the road will be closed here. Looking like something. Bring you back. Hey Ralph, enjoy your lurk. Okay, so that's the roads. How many houses did I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 houses. No, not copy. New layer. Structures. What color would we use for structures? Orange. nothing. And here's the ruins. What do those look like? Like fucking nothing. Okay, here's a little better picture. It's just this big black stone building. Go back to yeah. And this would be. Yeah, this would be ranch. Not accessible. This would be Bushiribana. I need to make more road here. Wait, let's look at a real water tank. Is this one? No. This is one. Paved road straight up. There's another one down here somewhere. The rock formations. There. So there's two roads leading up to it even. That's interesting. If it goes straight up, then it goes like this, and then around. And there's the radio tower. Do I have a size reference for water tank? No, I don't. Oh, don't open DaVinci Resolve, please. Secret stuff in there that you all are not supposed to know about. Go back to structures. Grab our orange again. There's the water tower. And then here, there's like a thingy, and then the antenna, which could also serve as a landmark. Like I noticed that in My Summer Car, that there's this big giant radio antenna, and it's like, I don't know if it was designed like that on purpose, but like it's one of the few things that you can see from almost anywhere on the map. So it works really good as a marker. Hey BTK, what's up? Water tank. I'm happy with it. Radio ant. The way I had it set up before, gas station, eatery, Chinese market. I think Chinese market here. But like some parking, right? How's it P for eyedropper tool? Which I shouldn't have used anyway. Yet. What would the size be? What the hell is that? School. We're looking at size. That's the size of a house. Now, gas station wouldn't be much larger than the house, would it? Gas station would be, gas station would be like this big. Gas. Eatery could be here. Chinese supermarket could be a bit larger. And, it could be here. Super! That brings us back to roads and pavement. That's basically the soundtrack of my stream. Outrun 2006 soundtrack. Gas, you know, it goes like this. Eatery, there's pavement here. Parking. Don't need to go into too much detail about that. What I really want, like, what you have in video games, I even had this in Cyberpunk. You have this a lot in video games. Is you drive a car off road, even if it's like a super low riding, super aerodynamic sports car. You drive it off road on dirt. It's maybe a little more slippery. I did like this race in Cyberpunk in the desert through canyons on completely unpaved terrain with like the fastest supercar in that game, like the equivalent of a Bugatti or whatever. It's total nonsense. In this game, if you're not driving on the road, you're gonna have a hard fucking time. That's what I want. There might be places where you could potentially take a shortcut, but that might fuck up your car as well, you know? Okay. Now the player's house can't be too close to the facilities, let's say. Just for the sake of, like, challenge. The player's house, I probably want to put over here. Now, in the sketch, that's the size of a house. I'm gonna put the player's house here. Nope. Wrong color. And then we need to strew some other houses about. At least 8, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. The thing about like a lot of houses in Aruba, especially this far away from basically anything that's not in like the city center, they tend to have big yards. They tend to be single-story houses. They have a lot of land to put all their cars on. Even if the house isn't big, the yard might be quite large. That's weird because it's still a very densely populated island. It has a high population density. Like the actual houses in here look something like this. You got one here, lucky bastard, that lives close to everything. No one lives here because this is a hillside. Oh, maybe one person lives like a cluster of 3. I guess we're just gonna call them H for helipad, of course. One, two, three, four, 5. Let's look at the formation. All right, coastline. I'm gonna take a little bathroom break after I figure out what I want to do. There. Coastline. You should also take your bathroom break right now. It's good for you. All right, is everyone's bladder empty? You ready to go? Let's go. We're drawing the coastline again. We're trying to... Where's the mouse? It's tiny. Coastline gets to be... I mean, it should be a brown, right? Could use a much bigger thingy. This Andikuri is a really cool beach. Like, I don't know how much time I'm gonna get to be able to put into this thing. But I intend to go back to Aruba in December for my birthday. And you bet your tushy I'm gonna be taking lots of pictures, either as reference or straight up for textures. I think that would definitely be cool if the textures in the game are based on like actual pictures that I took instead of just generic rock texture. It's like actually Aruba in those pictures, you know? My mom's husband has a drone. I was like wondering to what extent I could do, what's it called? When you make 3D things out of pictures. Photogrammetry. I think I want to do that. I'm just wondering how feasible it is. But like, there's a lot of things that I don't want to necessarily capture from real life. I think I don't know. I've asked people who maybe know more about that, like to what are, how do you capture a real life place? Like if you take Kamurocho from Yakuza Like a Dragon. That's like, it's real and it's not. I think the key there is a few like one-to-one landmarks and the rest is vibe and general layout, but it doesn't have to be exact. Water, I think we're going with blue. I was. This is also a funny thing about games, and this is again one of those things that I find very important to put into this one. In driving games, you're driving fast no matter what. You're accelerating really quickly, and it never feels like you're going fast. It never feels like you're going fast in something heavy. I tried to do this because some of the desert environment in Cyberpunk is kind of similar to the, you know, the dirt roads that I'm trying to make here. This road from here to like here is about 2 kilometers. And what I really want is for that to feel like 2 kilometers. Like, if you're driving at 30 kph, how long does that take? I don't know. I'm not going to do the math right now, but there's something I want to get done there. I want it to feel like that's a distance that matters. And again, that's one of those things that I do want to copy from My Summer Car, is this sense of momentum to the driving that you don't get. Even in like racing simulators, you don't get it because you're rarely driving normal cars on normal roads at normal speeds. And I have a sense that it has to do with the fact that you are when you're playing a video game, you're looking at it on a screen that is much smaller than real life. Like, it might be different in VR. I don't know. I've never really used VR. Where it actually feels like, you know, because again, like in a car, if you're driving and you're going at 10 kilometers an hour, if you bump into something, you still feel it, you know, and you're still like, fuck, my bumper. In a game, to drive at 10 kilometers an hour, you have to like lightly press the accelerator as lightly as possible, because that speed is just something that's in the way for the real speed you're trying to go at, which is 100 kilometers an hour. I hope. It's funny because I had hoped to do this before the end of last year, but that clearly wasn't happening. Is by the end of this year, if I could have a gray box version of all of this, just a gray box version, no textures, no details to the 3D models, just a basic terrain that is mostly accurate, has the roads, has the buildings where I want them to be, and you can walk and you can drive, and then even the physics don't have to be tuned yet. If I could have that before the year is over, I think I would be happy with that. Seems like a reasonable goal, because it's mostly It's mostly asset creation, and not even real asset creation, but like layout of assets. Because there's like a lot of Godot stuff, programming stuff that's going to take me a lot longer to learn, but it would be a good base to build off of. I do this when I make videos too. I like create a general layout of the thing, the timing. And then I just kind of watch it over and over again. And then I slowly start filling in the blanks. Seems to work for me. So I'll probably try to keep a similar structure. I'm not like kidding myself in just how much work this is going to be. But again, like this area would be like the 0.1 release if it was completely done. But that would include like all the simulations of like traffic coming in and out, all the survival mechanisms, interactables, interiors of buildings, the entire issue thing with like manning the store and all that stuff. That would be not quite 1.0. That would not be something I would feel comfortable selling, necessarily. But it would be more than a demo. I don't know. It would be like the pitch version, you know? Not quite a vertical slice. But like the version where if I could never develop it beyond that point, I could live with it. But 1.0 would contain much more of the island and activities. Why it goes high here, huh? That's what I'm envisioning. 1.0 would have at least 2 other locations you could visit and more more progression in terms of upgrading the souvenir shop and potential consequences of your actions. And a lot of the detail I want to put into it, like I want to have it so that if you are responsible for the trash that you drop, and you can get fined. Kind of a keep the island clean mechanic. Yeah, it looks pretty good. What are next? Inaccessible. No. Not inaccessible. Here's the thing. This whole area is like hills. There's like cool hiking trails, see? Hiking and mountain biking trails. And I'd like to add those at some point. But that would require adding a lot of detail into the terrain that I'm not yet prepared to do. Like little green patches. if Aruba was croissant? I mean, you've seen its shape, right? It does look like it could be a decent pastry. Wondering now, what else is left? This is maybe exactly the detail I was after. It feels a little weird. It is strange to achieve the things you set out to achieve. I'm still not used to it. I've spent a solid 20 years of my life not achieving anything. Well, not anything, but quite often not getting to where I would like to be. And yet this is basically it. It is quite strange. Let's look at this other... Let's save for one. Let's look at this other map. Oh man, it sucks so bad that I did it like on the I drew on the picture, so I can't have it without. I think this is like every single like major area and landmark and potential roads. So like this is now this officially. Why am I getting only Deus Ex? You know how if you look at the Netherlands, you have Flevoland, right? This big, massive man-made island. And if you kind of look at it, it kind of looks like it's the shape of the Netherlands. You know, like you got recursive Netherlands going on. I feel like I've accidentally done that with this little croissant. Let's see. Let's look at the notes. I had other stuff. Is this the same ocean? This was updated, last updated 3 months ago. I think I need to zoom back in. I need to go back to close-up mode. If it lets me. This would be phase 1, huh? My question is, let's say I start building this. Would I build that with the terrain editor stuff I have now? I would need... Do I build something I can expand? I had the same problem with this because if I have this full zone, it's at least 2 kilometers wide, so it will need a terrain system that has like culling and level of detail and all that stuff, and I have that for Godot. But this is the slice of the island. This and there will be moments where you'll. I mean, there are areas here that are like you're seeing the entire island from them, right? Eventually, you'll be able to climb these hills, and you'll be able to see the entire island. Done this before. If you're standing here. So I think even if I just start with this small area, I should, even just this area, I should build that within a proper terrain editor. Terrain editor for the general terrain. The water shader for the waves. And then meshes for the bridges. For rock detail. For shrubbery. And the road and parking lot. But again, I should probably just gray box it. I should probably just gray box it. Just like... just get the elevation right and the scale right and start working off from there. The creative process is funny because when I started working on today's little map, I was like, yeah, I kind of have in my head what it looks like, and we can make it work. And then as I started working on it, I'm like, oh my god, how am I ever gonna do this? I don't even know where to start. And then I was done, and now I'm thinking, what else do I do? Where do I go from here? Like, say, tomorrow, somebody hands me 50,000 euros, tax-free, and says, use this to make the game, to make your prototype that we can spend more money on in the future. Where would I start now? What else do I need to think of for my grand vision, whatever that is, before I start building? Would I start like either in Godot or Blender? Would I start immediately making something? Would I just start, you know, kind of going at the marble and seeing what happens? Assuming I have a backup marble. Or do I just formalize the document? Do I like actually make a proper prototype but proper design document? Or let's throw out the idea of the environment out entirely. Let's throw the idea of the entire environment out entirely and basically just set up a prototype complete gray box area where it's just first person controller, a basic vehicle that you can get in and out of, and that you can tweak the settings of to make feel good, and some test terrain, and basic like interaction, because I want a lot of interaction in the game. I want like functioning light switches and having to close and lock doors manually and that kind of stuff. Do I just start fiddling around with that before anything else? Because a lot of that is like also the base. There's multiple foundations I have to lay here. Is there a reason not to? Is there a reason not to what? To start on the design document? I'm just thinking about what would motivate me the best right now. What is somewhere where I can get a little bit of juice, because there's several thousand things I'll need to learn to make this anywhere near what I want it to be. Cause see, I could make this area, right? This 200 square meter area. But one, this is the most important part of the game. It's where most of it will take place. It is the thing I have the most reverence for. So like, why start with that? That might not be a wise thing to start with. I could sketch it out, but some of the sketching is also dependent on other things. I have my notes somewhat organized, but there's like a lot of this is like stuff that I want, but might not be in the game, either due to technical limitations or because once I work it out, it's just not fun, right? That's a thing too. Like, oh, what kind of vehicles do I want in the game? What will the buildings look like? I have images in my head of authentic things, certain like a certain type of window shutter. That's whatever, because in the end that'll just be, you make a model, you give it an animation, you put it in the engine, and you make it so that when you click on a certain spot, it opens or closes. But there's a thousands of those little things, and I know that I need to build this. If this has any potential feasible chance at existing the way I want it to, I'll need to build from small to big. I think no matter what, and this is what I wanted to have at the end of last year if I had had the time. I think the next step, now that I have my notes organized, now that I've played around with some Godot plugins and I have some idea of what I want things to look like, now that I have a preliminary map of the, let's call it the 1.0 area. I think I need to just play around in Godot a bit. I think is what I need to do, because if I can get a first-person controller that can get in and out of a vehicle, because there's so many different ways to get in and out of a vehicle, right? And again, I go back to the weird thing that My Summer Car does, where usually in games you press a button. Even in first-person games, you press a button on the door. You press a keyboard button on the door. You don't press a button on the door. You hit a key or a button on your controller while looking at the door, and an animation plays and your character goes into the car. And that can be as simple as just like whoop in more indie games, or a very elaborate, like, you know, motion captured type situation in more expensive games. But then My Summer Car goes as far as you click on the door to open the door. Then you hit a key on the seat. No, not even then. You can get in the car. And then you have to hit a key to plant yourself in the car. And separately put on your seatbelt. And then you have to hit the ignition. Pull out the choke. So that's the spectrum available to me of how I would do that. And I am inclined to go a little bit more towards that kind of like intricate type situation, rather than click on the door and you're in the car. Like, you could even teleport, right? Because that is that kind of like interaction with the environment, with the objects around you, is really what I want this game to be. I want detail and interaction. You know, a lot of doors on like Aruba is very windy. Aruba's a very windy place. And now that solar power is getting cheaper, very much cheaper, you'll find more and more places are air conditioned. But like, you know, 20 years ago, air conditioning was for not for a little snack bar at a tourist attraction. Or for the average house. So the way your house would be cooled is doors wide open. Let the wind through. Because the wind is quite cooling, because it's like ocean wind. But that means also That means also, like, you can't just have a door. A door needs a little hook, and there's like a particular kind of like wrought iron hook that was very popular, or that I recall seeing a lot. That is stuck in my memory. You know, there's like a little tab on the door, and there's like a hook next to the wall, and click it in. So, for your house or for your work building, whatever. Do you click on a door and the door is open? Do you drag the door? You got it, Red. Do you drag the door like it's Amnesia: The Dark Descent? Do you open the door with one button? But to close it, you need to unhook it. It's usually with your foot, right? The hook has like a little tab, a little pedal for your foot to raise it up. So, how would I code that interaction? Because physics are unreliable for stuff that small and intricate. But I think if I start with a first... Oh, also, this is something I want to... a long time ago, so we've talked about this before. The hill in the middle of the island. The Hooiberg, this place. With its steep stairs of like 600 steps. Don't do it after raining. Try to go there around 8 o'clock in the morning when it's still not too hot. I had, at one point, a long time ago, more than 10 years ago, been able to make, in Unity, a fairly okay 3D model of this, without any of the detail, just the base mesh, and put, like, a little staircase onto it. And I had done this thing where, like, usually in games, when you go upstairs, you're just running, right? You're just, you don't really slow down the way you would actually going upstairs. So what I had done... What is all this? What are the clouds? What I had done is I had set it so that when the collider of the player touched the stairs, their walk speed would go down. So that going up, so that you'd be down here walking around at normal speeds, but as soon as you go up the stairs, you slow down, and it feels like it's actually a climb. Now, I'm not saying I'm gonna do that, but just like I was saying with the driving, where I wanted so that if you're not driving on a road, you're basically screwed. Do I want it so that if you're walking on different terrain, it affects how you walk? There is this this is like from 2007 or something. There's this indie game called Miasmata, where you're like an explorer stuck on an island or whatever. It does a lot of weird stuff, but one thing it has is first-person exploration, and one thing it has is there's like physics to your walking, in the sense that if you're on a steep hill, you can slide down, and you can kind of trip and fall. So you need to be careful where you step foot. Now, again, I'm not saying I want to go that intricate, but I do find something fascinating about the idea that different, even for while walking, different surfaces create a different walking experience. So those are things I'd like to play with, but again, that feels very future thinking. But I want, if I start prototyping basic first-person controller, I want something that I could potentially extend into that. You know, it's the same with the vehicle physics, because there's like built-in vehicle physics in Godot, and there's several other options available. And they each have their pros and cons, I'm sure. But what I really want is that, like, yeah, going downhill speeds you up, but also, if you're going too fast, you'll fall. You know, you'll lose grip. But anyway, so I want to play around with stuff and try to understand, and knowing that like my programming skills are like novice, I guess. It's been a while since I've coded anything that's not HTML or CSS. I've played around with things. I know more than somebody who knows nothing. But I'm not a coder. But one thing I do like about Godot is a lot about it seems intuitive to me, and I like to play around with that. So I think that would be the next step. Is next steps. Next steps. Build a basic test environment to craft preliminary first-person controller and vehicle stuff that you can develop into the things you want. Controller interactivity and vehicle stuff. So there's this GitHub Godot Cogito. There is this template, I guess you could call it, for Godot called Cogito Immersive First-Person Starter Kit. And what it has is first-person player controller with sprinting, jumping, crouching, sliding, stairs handling, ladder handling, and sitting. And exposed properties. Dynamic footstep sound system. And more stuff like health, stamina. It has an interaction system. Doors, drawers, boxes to carry, elevators, keypads. It has an inventory system. You know, it has a lot of stuff that is like a good starter kit. I don't know if the tutorials can... Features. It has this kind of shit built in. But it's meant for a kind of game that I don't... you know, it's meant for like immersive sims. It's meant for a Deus Ex or a System Shock type game. I believe there's combat and guns in it as well. But it already has a lot of the basic stuff built in that I'm like, I could build off this. Because I'm a novice, because I'm working on my own, I don't want to build things from scratch. That would be ridiculous. But like, I'd remove the weapons. I'd completely redo, like, that's my question here. Like, should I play with this? And should I see if I can just like delete the weapons entirely, delete the things I don't like, and can I understand it enough that I can rewrite it? Here, modular. Do not want to use a feature, you will be able to hide it, ignore it, or strip it out without breaking Cogito. And it's designed to be extendable with your own custom features or other add-ons. So, no generative AI! See, that's great too. I feel tempted, instead of just grabbing a very basic first-person controller, which is just a capsule with a collider and a camera control. I feel tempted to take this, but am I then not also screwing myself out of a learning experience by building it from scratch? My fear is, and this has happened to me before, my fear is I take a bunch of things that work and I smash them together. And it works. It works the way I want it to. And I'm like, yes, I didn't have to learn anything other than how to smash these things together. And then I want to change something and I don't know where to go. But I think I might be, to go a little bit into my psyche. I used to struggle. You know this. If you're watching right now, you know this. I used to struggle massively with avoidant personality disorder. And I have tried many a time to make games and given up when I hit a point of struggle. But I think, you know, if you've seen what I've done on YouTube, or even with this stream, I think that's something I'm afraid of that I don't need to be afraid of anymore. And I think this confirms to me that what I want to do... Let's see, when was this last updated? A month ago. What I want to do is play with this quite in depth. Like, take a whole stream to really, really get to know it. And then see to what extent I can modify it, and by that I mean to what extent it is modifiable. It says it's like meant to be modifiable, but like to what extent is it really modifiable? You know, to what extent can I really turn off features and add in my own things? And to what extent am I capable right now with my current skill set? Because that's another thing, right? Like, do I grab this very elaborate framework with all these features that adds a lot of like complexity to the project? Or do I say, no, get a capsule, capture the mouse, and figure it out yourself, and then build from there, and because of that, my scope is automatically limited. And the other thing is, say I understand this and it works great. Is it extensible to what I want to do? Because what I'm making is not really well, strictly speaking, it's a sim that is immersive. But you know, it's more a an open world, whatever. I mean, look, every game out there, except for the people who code things from scratch entirely, but every game out there is using frameworks, and My Summer Car was notoriously made by someone who was not strictly a software or game developer and used a lot of like Unity add-ons. I believe it was even like visually coded, which is quite impressive considering the complexity of all the engine building and stuff. So it's not like I'm gonna use assets, I'm gonna use plugins, I'm gonna use all that shit. I'm gonna use whatever shortcuts I can. The question is more, do I get myself into trouble? Can I prevent that now? See, I'm just thinking out loud. These last 20 minutes, I've just been thinking out loud. But I'm starting to formulate something. I think definitely for the furtherance of this project, I'm gonna use this framework, this starter kit thing, and I'm gonna try to tear it apart. I'm gonna try to add a vehicle in some way on a very basic terrain. I think that's what we're gonna do. And then once I have a vehicle you can get in and out of. And that's just going to be like a box with wheels or something I download and then add the physics to. Once I have that, then I can build a rudimentary environment. Once I have that, then I can start laying out. I think maybe the idea of just having this area, I don't think that's the right way to go. I don't think this is phase 1 as I had originally intended. I think phase 1 is just a lower detailed version of the entire map. Just start with the layout. Start, use cubes as buildings. Mess with the elevation. Play with the roads. The roads are going to be so central to it all. The roads are like... The roads are going to be a character in and of themselves. Because one thing... I found another plugin that is like a road building plugin. Which is great because it generates a mesh for you. And it generates like AI pathing and all that stuff. But that's, I think, not fit for my purpose. Because if you look at the map... And this is classic Aruba. You have these areas where it's like, oh, it's pretty nice paved. And then it just turns into dirt. And in fact, like this, if you look closely, is like very old asphalt. And it started cracking and people started taking this road instead. And there's other parts here where there used to be asphalt. And so like, it's not just one line. You know, you see that in games sometimes where it's just an extruded line with a texture on it. I can't do that in the same way. I need to integrate the road in a much more seamless way. And then here it becomes paved again. I don't quite know how that will work. Yeah. Play around with Kujito. Mess with turning off stuff you don't need and try to add something. See how that works. Then have a vehicle you can get in and out of. Then rudimentary environment to test physics. Then basic layout of entire map, especially roads. Just use gray boxes for building. Like shop management and NPCs and stuff are very late in the process. One thing I'm kind of want to pay attention to too. You see this with a lot of like very, very indie, like 1 or 2 man show games. There are no resources to develop for both mouse and keyboard and controller at the same time. And the goal is like, well, we're going to release this on Steam. And, people are gonna play it on their computers, and that's all we can afford to do. And then maybe the game is a hit, and then the question of like, you know, getting deck verified, or even more, getting a Switch port or something, or getting a console port, all of a sudden becomes a thing. You may be approached by a publisher, or you may have enough resources to do it yourself. Like, My Summer Car cannot be ported to consoles because it's just a clusterfuck of code. But it's also not made to really work with controllers. So I do want to start, even though I'm not imagining that this will ever go beyond, you know, an itch.io release. I think it would be smart to think about, like, okay, well, what are things you can do to make it work on both keyboard and mouse and controller in a way that doesn't detract from both of them? Because I want to do interaction with the environment in a way that isn't done usually in games. Like, there's a certain precision, there's a certain way you carry items or whatever. How does that translate? I want to keep my mind open to that idea. Like, I like being in the car in a first-person view and looking around. But that feels different from with mouse and keyboard and controller. Usually, like in shooting games, the controller players will get generous auto aim. But you're not shooting here. But, you know, analog movement, that's something you don't have on the keyboard. Unless you have one of those weird analog keyboards. Yeah, Switch has mouse support, but that doesn't matter. It still needs to work on sticks. It needs to work on 2 sticks, 4 face buttons, 4 trigger buttons. Whatever you design to do, right? I had this with Cyberpunk. And I feel like as much as it's such a huge budget game, it didn't translate very well to the controller. The menus were very hard to navigate with a controller. But also, like, if you're playing on keyboard, you could just press I to go to your inventory. You could press M to go to your map. And on the controller, you don't have that. You can hold start to go to the map. But you don't have all those things. You don't have, you know, you run out of buttons. You run out of keys. Right, like My Summer Car is a separate key for smoking, a separate key for pissing, a separate key for cursing. That shit doesn't translate well to controllers. But also there is a thing too about how it feels to move. What I want is to be smart about it and to still have a certain a foundation that is in some capacity future-proof. And it's not so much the technical foundation as it is the design foundation. I don't see the game having a ton of keys, particularly because I'd rather have like direct interaction with the world, you know? This is not the kind of game where you can piss wherever you want, because that's a very dude coded thing, and I think these games have that enough. And you're not smoking either. But there might be different ways of interacting with the thing. There is a pickup item and the use item. Right? Is there jump? I don't know if there's a jump. I definitely want a zoom key. I feel that any kind of first-person game that has any kind of exploration needs a zoom. Just because that's like, to me, that is... one thing that I find interesting in games is how games sometimes can help you compensate for not having all the senses that you have in real life. In real life, you have, you know, your sense of balance, you have smell, you have a sense of acceleration. Games are entirely audio-visual. And so sometimes I think, especially if you're trying to be immersive, if you're trying to create a sense of being in that world, there are things you need to do to compensate for that. And like a zoom function in a first-person exploration game is a way to focus on an area, to read text on a poster or something like that in a way that is more immersive, I find, than like clicking on a poster and a big text box pops up, you know. And I struggle with the immersion stuff. Because I'd rather have things be as diegetic as possible. But like, if you look at this map, you have roads that lead off the map. And how do I... like, this road, right? This road in particular is the largest, is the busiest road on this map. Cars coming back and forth. Some of them are going up here to go to wherever, but most of them are passing through. So you'll have NPC cars that come from off the map, come through, and leave the map again. But you are not able to do that. So somewhere you need to be blocked. I can't block the environment because other cars need to go through. So that's one thing I kind of learned from playing Landlord Super, is they just had invisible walls. You just have invisible walls, or you just have a barrier, like a hologram type barrier, you know? Cyberpunk has this thing when you kind of leave the edges of the map, it pops up a message saying like, are you sure you want to, or like, you're not supposed to go this way, and then eventually it teleports you back to a safe spot. That's also something. I don't like it. And I don't, unlike My Summer Car, I can't have a closed loop environment because this is going to link up to larger areas. Like this road, right? That's this road. I might just build this into the map. This might just become one piece. I don't know, because it's just a road and there's not much else to it. But here, I'm not gonna build the rest of the island. When I'm gonna spend 2 years just building this area, I'm not gonna spend more of my life building the rest of this place. So I'm gonna have that thing where you zoom out and you play like an isometric version of the game until you arrive at an area where you zoom in again. But how do I tell the player? How do I tell the player if you keep going down this road? Like, okay, step 1, version 1.0, you can't go down this road. So what I could do, I think I liked what Cyberpunk did, is sometimes when you would enter mission areas with your car would just slow down and go to 0. So that's something I could do, right? If you start going in this direction, your car will just slow down. And then, you know, all you can do is reverse and then turn around. Let me write that down, actually. Technical notes. Vehicle notes. World and location notes. If you head down a road if the player heads down a road that isn't accessible. One diegetic way. No, it's not entirely diegetic. One way to prevent this is to have the car slow down like C77 did missions. And only allow reverse. But what if player isn't in car? I don't know. I don't know. How does Yakuza 5 do this? El Camarocho is another one of those areas that's like, yeah, it's contained because there's roads around it. But also, it's the Yakuza games aren't very, you know, they're very video gamey still, so they don't mind using invisible walls. But again, how do I communicate? How do I communicate? You're heading into a zoom out zone, and how do I eventually communicate that you're heading into a zoom out zone? So that's one thing that I think Landlord Super showed me, where it's like, well, does it? No, but that's the point. I'd like it to be diegetic, but I think in the end you have to make a compromise. I'm going to have, like, I will have meters. I will have meters for, like, you know, hunger, thirst. I think I want to have a heat mechanic, that kind of stuff. Cleanliness, whatever, you know, the basics. And that will have to be on screen in some way. I have certain. I want to do the thing, that GTA 4 thing with the little cell phone that would pop up in the corner of the screen. I want to have that. You will have a little Nokia, and you'll have an MP3 player for music. So there'll be a lot of things that can be done on that screen, but not everything. And I don't like the idea of, like, oh yeah, and your phone is also tracking how full your bladder is. That doesn't sit right with me. Tell me your suggestion. We're storming our brains. We're doing the thing that AI can't do. We're brainstorming. We're coming up with ideas. I mean, I think definitely for version 0.1, just big red barriers is fine. Big red hologram barriers is fine. You could either have one of the NPCs flag you down and ask you to turn around, do something for them, or get a message on your phone which makes you pull over because you can't drive and text, obviously. See, it's not even technically. Then it gets into an agency thing. Because I imagine if an NPC flags you down, that doesn't mean you have to stop. I think that leads to another thing, actually. I think I'm not going to have that you can run over people. Vehicle notes. Can't run over people. Do a driver thing or something. Not that kind of game. Yeah, an NPC stopping you. that's something. I feel like there's something there. I'm trying to imagine how that would work. I mean, you'd have to have an NPC on the side of the road. Unlikely. You gotta remember, like, Aruba is hot and dry and very sunny. The people who are walking are only doing it because they have no other choice. Everyone else is in a fucking car. You know, in Crazy Taxi, you stop in the circle and the NPC runs to you, but this would be the other way around. You sit to the area and the NPC runs to you. Yes. But then that leads to the other problem I have. Which is... what if you're, like, not in your car? Alright. What if you're not driving? Oh, shit. Edit. Redo. Yakuza 5 just has the glowing barriers that NPCs' cars can drive through and NPCs can walk through, but you can't. Yeah, I think that would be the thing. At least for 1.0. The thing is still... The question to me is still... how do you signal... This is something that I don't need to worry about anytime soon, but how do you signal to the player, like... How do you signal to the player you are now heading to the overworld? Because the way that like an old school RPG would do it is you go through a door, you know, or a gate of some sort at the edge of the screen. And then bam, you're in the Chrono Trigger overworld. But this is first person. So I can't stop the camera. Like if it were a third person, and if you're behind the car, I would have it like the closer you get to the transition zone, the camera could start zooming out a little bit and become isometric. And then if you keep going, flashes to white, loads the isometric level. You know the area you're going to appearing? Could do something like that. Where are you? How do you transition to the overworld? That could be one thing if you didn't have a car, I just have it like you get on the bus. Alright, then the bus takes you where you want to go. Racing Lagoon has the overworld as the default. And from the going from the overworld to a more detailed place, that is not a problem. Or I don't do overworld at all. And I just have like, once you reach the edge of the map, You can say travel to this location. And I find that both to be incredibly practical and a cop-out. Oh, shit, that's such an elegant solution, and I hate it. Right, you just kind of hit this area here, and the game just pauses, and it says like, travel to this beach, travel to that building, travel to that location, select, fade to black, load next location, continue. It's so much less work. That is such a beautiful solution that undermines everything I'm trying to do. It could be a start. It could be a start. I mean, you could then the game pauses, you get a pop-up. If you continue, you'll drive to the overworld. That feels less elegant. You could do a an outrun. You could have like a big traffic sign overhead. Like Aruba doesn't really have any highways, right? But you know, it could be like taking a highway exit. If you go in this lane, you'll go here. If you go in that lane, you'll go there. It feels quite elaborate, though, for like, this is like a little countryside area, you know? I was going to say it's an outrun style thing, but you have to press forward on the stick or whatever. The movement forward is to confirm that you want to go to the detailed area. Yeah. I mean, the other thing, like, I love the isometric Little Yokohama and Racing Lagoon so much that I'm like, if I'm gonna make other locations accessible, I cannot make even a scaled down Aruba in first person view. It is too detailed. It is too varied. There's too much going on there. I'd need a team of 10 people to make that happen. Infinite corridor. That starts messing with my feeling of authenticity. Everything is a compromise. It's all compromise all the way down. There's something to a pop-up. But again, what if the player is in the car? Use taxis parked to go to detailed areas. No. No, because Aruba is a very car-centric country. And if you're gonna have any level of independence, you're gonna have a car. And I want the car to be like a part of... It's not my summer car level, like you build this and whatever, but I want it to be like a piece of your inventory that you have a strong relationship to. that is a character on its own. I cannot have a fast travel system that isn't based on you in the car, even if it's just like the isometric world is purely visual and you have no control over driving there or whatever. A pop-up once you hit the edge of playable of a map that says I want to go here, 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 or turn around. Well, isn't that the solution? Isn't that then the solution? If I start with having no isometric view thing whatsoever, and you just teleport to whatever zone you select, like, oh, I'm gonna go to the mini golf course. Then if I am able to build the isometric world at some point, then the pop-up just becomes you are now leaving this zone and going to the overworld. And then, or turn around. And then if you're on foot, you can't. Which makes perfect sense, because you can't practically go on foot anywhere on Aruba. If something happens to your car, you're gonna have to get it towed or something. Then if once overworld is implemented, like, just be like, you're entering cruising mode, you know? Not call it overworld, call it cruising mode or chilling. I don't know. When the overworld is implemented, you can select between doing that or turning around, and you can only do this in a vehicle. There might be multiple vehicles. On foot, you will be told to turn around and blocked in some way. That feels like we can make that work. And what we can then do is, until we have other locations, instead of a big red wall, not too dissimilar, Disty, to your like NPC/text message thing. You just get a message saying like you can't leave the area, and then it turns you around automatically. Okay. 0.1, it just tells you can't leave the area and turns you around automatically. That worked out pretty okay, I think. What other zones did I have? Natural Bridge. The Heuberg zone. much to do there. Oh, big thing to do there. North Coast Zone West. What's here? Frenchman's Pass Zone. Yeah, there's stuff to do there. Adventure Golf Zone. Vista Zone. California? Colorado, Colony, Baby Beach. Alright, I'm starting to get a little sleepy. So I think what we're gonna do is raid into nervous. Yeah, you know, I've been trying to be a little bit more not lax, a little bit more flexible with my sleeping time and my like evening activity. Because I noticed, like, you know, the streaming is good for keeping me active in the evening, but like on days where I'm not streaming, sometimes I'm just sitting on the couch, just on my phone the whole time, and I have plans, I have things I want to do. I'm trying to read a little more, I'm trying to be on my laptop a little bit more, be a little bit more productive, you know? All that kind of shit. While at the same time avoiding burnout, but I think the trip to Switzerland is going to help a lot with that too. Raid. Nervous. Thanks so much, especially you, Distinguished This, for brainstorming with me. And I feel like, one, I got my nails done. I got my nails did. So that's good. But also, I feel like I genuinely got some good progress with the game, and that's funny because like yesterday I was like, oh, I really want to stream because I didn't stream last week, and I was like, what am I gonna play? What am I gonna play? I don't feel like playing anything. Oh, I could work on the Aruba game. Okay, cool. No pressure. We'll see what we do, but I feel like I made some genuine progress. And next time I work on the Aruba game, whenever that is, I think we're gonna try and play in Godot again a little bit. I won't be back on Thursday because I'm gonna be busy working on the Wild West. Wiki. Maybe next week. I hope that video will be done next week. I don't know. I can't make any promises. I'm not super happy with how it's turning out, but that's by my standards, which I'm sure will be more than satisfactory for the hogs, for you hogs watching it. All right, okay. I'm gonna hit the button. Today's the day. I love you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for enjoying the BOBSTREAM. I love you all.